You have probably had enough of these maxed out PC reviews. This holiday season, a lot of you gamers are looking for more affordable options. I have right here one of the best selling gaming pre-builts, and in this 100% honest and unbiased review, I'm excited to be sharing with you everything that you need to know about the CyberPowerPC Gamer Xtreme. I'm going to quickly zip you through the fun unboxing and what's included, take you through some of the most thorough gaming and creator benchmarks that you've ever seen, VR tests, my take on the design and build quality, the internals, thermals, overall ease of use, as well as my top pros and cons. This model that I'm reviewing for you today includes an Intel i7-12700F processor, an NVIDIA GeForce RTX 3060 Ti GPU, and 16 gigabytes of 3200 megahertz DDR4 RAM. I cover this computer very thoroughly, so I can confidently say by the end of this video, you will know if this machine is right for you or not, if you watch the whole thing. But if you still have any questions after watching this entire video, just shoot me a comment, and if you're publicly subscribed, I guarantee a personal response. But first, let's rewind back into the past and check out the unboxing. Looks like we got a keyboard. Honestly, a pretty nice and solid high quality feel to them. Feels pretty good. A pretty decent mouse as well. It has a similar feel to a SteelSeries gaming mouse. A nice and soft, almost hard rubber feel. And now for the main event. Got a fancy little Ziploc. Insert USB key to begin. Oh wow, leave a review and get a $10 Amazon gift card. Not bad after spending $1,300. Your typical PC power cable, and then 2 antennas for Wi-Fi. Overall, I'm pretty pleased with the design. It's got a great balance of eye-catching RGB, viewable from the front and the side via these two massive glass panels, and then we've got a pretty clean matte black material everywhere else. As far as the layout, functional design, and airflow though, that was a little interesting, and we'll get to that here in a sec. For the ports on the top, we've got a power button, a button for controlling the RGB lighting throughout the case, 2 USB 3.0 ports, and a headphone and microphone jack. On the back, we've got 2 USB 2.0 ports, and a PS2 port for controlling any older keyboard and mice that you may still have. Just upgrade them already. An HDMI port. Don't use this one though. This is only for people that don't have a graphics card. Then we've got 4 more USB 3.0 ports and an RJ45 Ethernet jack. Beneath that, a USB-C port and a USB-A sleep and charge port. Then our connectors for our Wi-Fi antennas, microphone, line in, and line out ports. And last but certainly not least, on the back of the 3060 Ti GPU, an HDMI 2.1 port and 3 display ports. This will enable you to use up to 4 monitors if you're a crazy person. To access the internals, first you just need to unscrew this top and bottom screw on the front glass panel and slide it out. We've got 2 120mm RGB exhaust chassis fans here on the front, and then one identical also exhaust chassis fan here on the back. Yes, you heard that right. I thought that was pretty interesting too. 3 fans total that blow air out of the case. This created a negative pressure that actually resulted in air being pulled in from the top of the case. Most PCs actually pull air in from the front and push it out the back and the top. Next to the back fan is the RGB fan for the CPU air cooler, and our 2 sticks of 8GB 3200 MHz T-Force Vulcan Z DDR4 RAM for a total of 16 gigabytes. Beneath that, our main SSD drive, and we'll show you the speeds that we got for that here in a sec. And this, which is the most important part of a gaming PC, our Gigabyte NVIDIA GeForce RTX 3060 Ti GPU. A lot of power packed into this thing. Behind that is our Wi-Fi card, another slot for an additional SSD for more high-speed storage if you want to upgrade in the future, and then at the bottom underneath this plate is our 600 watt power supply. Thankfully, this is a PC that is not built out of proprietary components, and everything is upgradable and replaceable if you want to level up as you go along. Now, price-wise, this machine that you see here costs about $1,300. In contrast, similar inexpensive pre-builts like the iBUYPOWER Slate Mesh with an i7 and only a 3060 goes for about the same price. It's also priced quite a bit better than the HP OMEN 25L with similar specs. Right now, that'll cost you about $200 more. And this Skytech Chronos with just a slightly faster 3070 GPU will cost around $280 more than that. The most important factor when choosing a gaming or creator PC though is the price to performance ratio, and we'll get to that here in a sec. Now for those of you that would like to fine tune the performance of this machine and possibly do some overclocking, there's not that much that you can do within user-friendly software, but you do have a bit of control within the BIOS. This is accessible by hitting the delete button when you're turning on your computer. Here you can overclock your RAM, push your CPU a little bit harder, and adjust your fan profiles, or set their speeds manually. I advise you to be careful with these settings though, unless you really know what you're doing. Now when it came to the fan noise, this computer was just a little bit louder than the other similar pre-builts in this category. In quiet mode, it was hitting around 43 decibels. You can see here that this is a few decibels louder in quiet mode and performance mode than the others, and tied with the HP OMEN 25L for the loudest when all the fans were in full speed mode. I tested gameplay at full speed mode and it offered no improvements, so I really wouldn't recommend that anyway. Thermals. You can see in our thermal imaging tests that the majority of the heat is radiating from the heat sinks on the side of the GPU, but temperatures hanging around 120 degrees Fahrenheit when pushing the computer to the max with graphics settings set to ultra, that's not too bad. Much of that heat is released out this back vent, but most of it is sucked out the side vent via these two main massive chassis fans. I also did some extensive testing in gaming as well. These were our CPU temps for 6 different games at 1080p. It had the hottest temperatures for every single game that we tested and compared to these other top selling pre-builts in this category, with temperatures into the 90s for Warzone and Apex Legends. It did have very acceptable average temperatures when it came to our GPU tests at 1080p though. And then jumping into our 4K tests, again the CPU proved to be quite a bit hotter than the others. You'll see here in a sec when I show you the performance though, that this was mainly due to the CyberPowerPC pushing more power into the CPU than what the other pre-builts were comfortable with. And the GPU temperatures at 4K, again just like with our 1080p testing, were also right there in line with the rest. Now my favorite part of this review, and probably yours, performance and gaming benchmarks. For Geekbench 5 we got a single core score of 1,924 and a multi-core score of 12,978. This was the highest score that we got for the single core test and almost the highest for the multi-core. For Cinebench R23, which simulates its 3D rendering power, we got a multi-core score of 20,517 and a single core score of 1890. Again, the fastest when rendering with a single CPU core and almost the fastest when utilizing multiple cores. Another great test for those of you who plan to be doing a lot of rendering is the V-Ray benchmark. And I was pretty pleased with these results as well. And again, showing the Skytech Chronos machine that I tested doing just a little bit better. And if you use Blender, the real-time viewport GPU rendering will be slightly better with the OMEN 25L, but actual 3D rendering with the CPU is better with the CyberPowerPC, as you can see here, where it basically tied with the Skytech Chronos machine. For 3D Mark, we got an overall score of 11,839, a graphics score of 11,370, and a CPU score of 15,453. And this is how that compared to the others. Pretty decent, but still significantly trailing the Skytech Chronos for the overall and graphics scores. And for the main drive, the SSD that everything is stored on, I got speeds of 3.5 gigabits read and 2.3 gigabits write. I've definitely seen better, but this is actually one of the faster stock drives that I've seen come with one of the more budget-friendly builds. Now, gaming benchmarks are probably what you guys care the most about though. These were our average FPS results that we got for several games at their highest preset settings in HD. You can see here that it did extremely well compared to the more expensive HP OMEN 25L and the same priced but lower spec'd iBUYPOWER. According to the HD results, this is looking like a pretty good deal. Moving up to 1440p, the OMEN 25L caught up a little bit on a few games, but the CyberPowerPC still maintained its distance with games like Doom Eternal and Fortnite. And then with our 4K tests, they were nearly identical to each other, with the overpriced iBUYPOWER doing very poorly, and the Skytech Chronos with a slightly more powerful GPU dominating all of them. And here's a more broad overall perspective showing the average of 9 games total that I tested for each of these machines at their highest preset settings at 3 different resolutions. At the top, you can see how this compares to a high-quality PC like the Corsair Vengeance i7-300 with an i7 and 3080 GPU, and then the even more expensive Skytech Prism 2 with an i9 and 3090. This goes to show you that not much is gained from an i7 to an i9 and a 3080 3080 to a 3090 when it comes to gaming. In my humble opinion, it's not worth it to get the top tier CPU or GPU for gaming. Creative professionals would feel the benefit a bit more than gamers. And speaking of creatives, here's a few Puget benchmark tests for the most popular creative apps. For Adobe Premiere, we got 864, Adobe Photoshop 1063, and DaVinci Resolve 1597. This is the best score that I got for Adobe Photoshop and Premiere, and almost the best for DaVinci. These scores represent actual speed and fluid functionality within the software themselves. Because when it came to actual export times, they were not majorly different from each other when rendering out 10-minute multi-layered edits. I did some VR tests as well, and I was pretty pleased with the experience overall here as well. Putting a number to it though is the best way to compare, and using the VR benchmark revealed a favorable score of 15,630, which is really not all that far from the more expensive top tier machines that you see here on the top with the 3090 GPUs. Pros and cons. My overall top reasons you should not get this computer. Number one are those thermals. When it came to the CPU temperatures for 1080p, 1440p, and 4K, it was by far the hottest when compared to the others in this category. Just know that playing those specific games that keep this computer in the red zone will most likely shorten the overall lifespan. My number two con is the fan noise. It really didn't bother me that much, but I do need to mention that it was the loudest compared to all the other computers that I tested in this category. Only by 1 decibel though. I tried hard to come up with a third con, but I really couldn't find any. So in searching through all of the worst reviews that I could find for this computer, which there really weren't all that many, some people noted that their graphics card wasn't working right out of the box, and a few of them had LEDs that weren't connected to the motherboard, so that made the RGB not work. It appeared that all of those issues were replied to by the manufacturer though, and resolved by reconnecting the right cables to the motherboard or replacing their unit. Now my top reasons you do want to buy this computer, number one is the performance. This, in my opinion, is the most important factor when buying a gaming or creator PC, and this computer was clearly a top performer here. It was nearly as fast as the Skytech Chronos computer, but for a few $100s less. Which brings me to my second pro, pricing. Equal in pricing to that underpowered iBUYPOWER and actually a couple $100s less than the HP OMEN 25L, and yet quite a bit more powerful. This PC is priced very competitively, and as of right now, it's a great deal. But see my links in the comments and description below for the most up-to-date pricing. And my last pro is upgradability. Because this machine uses modular parts, upgrading this machine and customizing it to your preferred machine is a lot easier than some of those other pre-builds that like to use proprietary parts. So do I actually recommend this computer? I rarely ever say this, but absolutely. It's actually my top choice for a PC that's under $1,300. I was very pleased with the performance, and I think that any creator or gamer on a budget will definitely be happy with this choice. Now, if you do decide to purchase this computer or one of the others that I compared it to, and this video helped you in any way, then I would really appreciate it if you purchase through one of my affiliate links in the comments and description below, as I get a small commission at no cost to you for every single purchase made. And it's actually a major factor in keeping this channel going and getting better and better for you. Or if you'd just like to support this channel and help keep it growing, then please consider becoming a channel member by clicking on the join button below. I'd also like to personally thank all of my members for their monthly contributions to this channel. Every little bit helps. I really appreciate you guys. And remember, every week I do a giveaway that randomly selects someone who's interacted with this channel in some way or filled out the form in the description. So make sure to like, comment, and subscribe with notifications turned on to stay up to date with that, as well as staying up to date with all of my latest gaming PCs. And the winner for this week is
Tiki Blaze.
Thanks for watching, guys. I love you guys. God bless.